This is going to feel a little weird to say, but what's up, Bills Mafia? Ryan Talbot here with the great Brent Axe as we go over and recap day 7 of Buffalo Bills training camp. Matt Perino not with us today. 6 or 7 butterbeers deep at Universal on a trip. And speaking of trips, Shout is brought to you by Amtrak. And let me tell you, Brent, if you've never been on an Amtrak, they have stops in Buffalo, Niagara Falls, Rochester, you name it. And the comfort of traveling on Amtrak is second to none.
I can tell you right now, Ryan. So my daughter recently wants to go visit a friend down in Westchester. My daughter does not have a driver's license. So I said, how are you going to get there? Amtrak. That's how she got there. See? Perfect.
See? Can't beat it. Tons of leg room.
Yep.
So convenient. Free Wi-Fi. Pull up the videos, the Netflix on your phone, whatever you want. Amtrak has you covered. Well, Brent, a little bit of an uneventful practice today, kind of in half speed toward the end as we get closer and closer to the scrimmage tomorrow. But we're going to kind of break down everything that we saw.
Yeah, Ryan, first of all, and thanks to Bills Mafia for letting me pitch in here for Matt for the next couple of days. It's great to be back at camp at St. John Fisher College. And I want everybody watching, and I want Ryan to know, I have been given timeout privileges. Okay, if he gets out of hand with the dad jokes,
that's right.
There's a corner right over there. He's going to go by the big spider web that continues to grow here in Matt's dorm room at St. John Fisher University, by the way. I think I said St. John Fisher College. Great to be back here at St. John Fisher University. But yeah, we'll get into some of the headlines from today, including, hate to be the bearer of bad news, Bills Mafia, but yet another Bills wide receiver, another Bills. We're not quite sure if we want to use the term injury, but Josh Palmer did leave practice today. So we'll get into that and the other headlines of the day. But you just touched on it. It was kind of a light day for the Bills. They've got the blue and red scrimmage tomorrow at Highmark Stadium. A lot of red zone work today, a lot of running game work today, a lot of half-speed drills today. We saw some 11-on-11, and Ryan and I are kind of sitting there on the side like, should we actually text our insiders what's going on right now? Because they were going through the motions is not a way to put it, but I think they were kind of laying off the gas pedal a little bit today, Ryan, with the blue and red scrimmage coming tomorrow, which, by the way, between the two of them, I'd rather see the show at Highmark Stadium tomorrow. So if you were here at St. John Fisher University today, you still got to see all your favorite players, a lot of fans getting autographs and everything, but it was certainly a light day of practice. There was a few veterans that sat out today that we'll get to as well coming up here shortly. Yeah,
and you said it. At the end of the practice, half speed, just a lot of going through the motions, but there was a lot of 7-on-7 and 11-on-11 where they were ramped up early on. So we'll get into that too. But let's start with Joshua Palmer. You were over on the main field. I was on the side field today, and you took this great video where during individual work, there was some quarterback wide receiver drills, and it was Josh Allen throwing the ball to each of his receivers, and you had a great end zone view of a touchdown pass to Palmer, obviously against air on that play. And as you sent it to me, I'm making my way back over to the main field, and as I'm over there, I see Joshua Palmer walk off the field with an athletic trainer, and he's kind of going through drills, running a little bit, jogging, doing things, just at half speed, and everything seems to be fine, but we didn't really see him return to practice after that.
Yeah, he was, as you mentioned, working with a trainer. We had a real up-close and personal look at him on the sideline. He was throwing the football a little bit. He did sprint off at one point to use the facilities, if you will. So the good news is Josh Palmer was around.
Right.
He was on the field. He did talk to the trainers, but they weren't tending to Josh Palmer. They didn't have a wrap or anything. They didn't have to take him away. I didn't see if he went in the tent or not, so I don't know if he did. But this is also something you're like, come on, man. Another day, another injury. And there's just certain guys that you want to get every rep possible with Josh Allen, and I would put Joshua Palmer at the top of that list. That drill you mentioned that I took the photo of is, it's routes versus air, but you could just see that he can get to the football, he can get up. They're already starting to establish some timing as they have in the offseason, and the wide receiver group has just been so scattered. Curtis Samuel continues to be out, right? So, Brian, it's one of those things that, look, a rising tide lifts all boats, right? Josh Allen makes all the receivers better. But who can Josh Allen count on, right? Who's the guy that takes pressure off Josh Allen, right? That's why they brought in Palmer, just to be that steady presence that He's there. Of course, Keon Coleman doing another great day today, as we're going to talk about here. Coleman is kind of emerging as the one. Shakir is Mr. Reliable, but you just want somebody that can be that extra outlet for Josh Allen, and you just don't want to hear anything about Josh Palmer not being on the field. So I guess the big question now, Ryan, is he going to play tomorrow? Is he going to be in that blue and red scrimmage? And should he play tomorrow? Even if he's healthy, he thinks he's good to go, and things are okay if things turn out all right. Do you even put him out there tomorrow? At this point, I don't think you're going to see him on the field, unfortunately, at Highmark. They're probably going to be pretty careful about that.
Yeah, the Bills are overly cautious, which I think is a good thing this time of year with their players. So, and we'll probably get an update tomorrow on whatever it is that could be ailing him. We did see him, like you said, on the sideline throughout practice, helmet off. He was even throwing the football around with the receivers late in practice along the sidelines. Curtis Samuel and street clothes too doing the same. So, we don't want fans to sit here, think doom and gloom. We don't have all the details yet. The team has not told us anything yet. It's just after some air drills and individual drills, we saw him working with the trainer, and then we didn't see him back out there on the field. But on the topic of injuries, we have another one to report here.
Yeah, Cole Bishop was out again. It was a quad situation at this point. And again, there's certain guys, Ryan, you want getting all the reps possible. They're doing everything they can to get Cole Bishop in there. But the best ability is the availability. And if he continues to be out in these situations, I think it's going to be interesting to see how the Bills handle this and who steps into that role, because he is firmly in a position to be like that second guy out there, but can't get out there consistently. That's always the question about camp and the reps. And we're still at a time of the year where we're not in preseason games yet. There's still a lot to be determined, but you don't want to develop a reputation as somebody that you look every other day and he's not there.
Right. And you said it. The Bills have wanted Cole Bishop to be their starting safety opposite Taylor Rapp. It's been apparent. He's been the starting guy every practice. But now you get this quad injury. And obviously, last year was the shoulder injury. As a rookie, that really put him behind the eight ball. It gave the job to Damar Hamlin. We know that he didn't start a lot of games last year until some other injuries popped up at the safety position. Year two, more knowledge of the system, more comfortable, more vocal. And we don't know just how long he'll be out with this current injury. But if it is something that's more severe, it opens the door once again for Damar Hamlin to get some run at safety. They have Cam Lewis, who they really like. They brought in Derek Forrest. So they have guys in waiting. We heard from Bobby Babich today pre-practice about that next man up mentality. So they're going to need that until Cole Bishop returns. I think he's in a better spot this year, being his second year in the system, but it's still very concerning.
I want to stay in the secondary for a second, Ryan, because one guy that popped again today, you've been at camp all along, and I've been living vicariously through you guys, the great texts, of course, and all the great coverage on Syracuse.com, and, of course, the Shout podcast here. Not at the safety position, but staying in the secondary. Dorian Strong just continues to pop. He makes plays every day, and you need that depth in the secondary. I was really impressed with him today. But while we're on the subject of the secondary, look, this was the first day that Trey White stepped into that bigger role, right? Max Hairston, that breeze you felt yesterday was a collective sigh of relief from Bills Mafia, knowing that Hairston, it was not a permanent ACL situation. He's going to be out for a few weeks. It's still something worth monitoring. It's an unfortunate situation because he's going to lose those reps that you want a rookie to get. But Ryan, this is why you sign a guy like Trey White. This is why Brandon Beane is so good at this. You establish relationships with these guys, so they want to come back to Buffalo. You guys talked about it on the pod the other day. Jordan Poyer is out there like campaigning to come back to Buffalo, right? But you need those veterans, and there's just a presence with this guy. Ryan's got a great video on his Twitter feed you guys should check. I believe you sent that to the insiders too as well. Trey White comes in, people go crazy. He's engaging with the fans, but it's on the field, the presence. He knows where to be. He's pointing things out on defense. There was a spot during practice where it was Keon Coleman against Trey White. Flag goes down. Trey White right over to the ref saying, I don't think that was a catchable football, kind of in his Trey White way, like explaining to the ref, I don't think you made the right call there. But they put a lot into Max Hairston. And at the end of the day, he's still a first-round pick, has not played any meaningful football. To be able to slide a guy, what do they always say? Next man up and all these cliches we hear this time of the year. That's Trey White. He is just the manifestation of the perfect next man up in this situation. And I was really struck by his presence all around camp today.
Yeah, his presser last week, you could just tell how happy he was to be back, how freeing it was to have a full offseason where he wasn't rehabbing a lower body injury. He just had a full year offseason, I should say, to prepare for this upcoming year, and he wanted to come back to Buffalo. And now there's an opportunity here with Hairston week to week with an LCL sprain. And you see the comfort in this system. You see him being vocal with his teammates, calling things out, engaging with the referees, encouraging young cornerbacks like Dorian Strong, who Bobby Babbage said, he's going to get more reps now with that next man up mentality. This is your chance to prove yourself. So definitely a fun day there in the secondary. Some shifting back real quick to the injury news. We did learn today Alec Anderson had his knee scoped. He's listed as week to week. You figured it was something somewhat minor. His wife posted on TikTok yesterday, 3 hours after the surgery. He's lifting weights. He's wearing a wrap on the leg. Obviously, it's something more extensive. You'd be in the hospital. You wouldn't necessarily just have a wrap and you're not working out. So good news there. We had a vet rest day for Deanne Dawkins. We know Spencer Brown's out as well with the back injury, but we got to see a little bit of Tylen Grable, Ryan Vandermark. I think they both held up pretty amicably today.
Grable didn't screw it up at left tackle, so that's a good thing. And it was kind of a jarring sight, though. Veteran rest day, nothing wrong. To see Deanne Dawkins out there in street clothes and to hear about Anderson, who's that sixth offensive lineman, he's the depth guy. You guys have talked about this. Find some wood and knock on it right now, but this has been a very healthy offensive line the past couple of years, right? So when you walk into practice, like, oh, why is Dawkins in street clothes? It jars you for a little second there. But the consistency of that offensive line has been so key for this offense, so key for Josh Allen's rise in this offense, particularly with all the wide receivers, all over the place and the injuries, adding Josh Palmer to the list today. Again, we'll see how that turns out and what the severity of, if it even isn't an official injury. They could have just been very precautious with this situation today. But that offensive line has been a rock. And it's good to hear on Anderson that if you're putting TikTok videos up that he's going to be back soon and ready to go there. While we're on that subject, Ryan, so Dawson Knox, they're kind of taking the slow approach with this. He was out there, but not in – they were in shells today anyway. They were not in full pads, kind of a walk-through before the scrimmage tomorrow. Shavers and Elijah Moore starting to get back into the fold as well.
Yeah, they're ramping up. And then on the vet rest day, in addition to Deanne Dawkins, we had Greg Rousseau and Daquan Jones out as well for vet rest. Congrats to Greg Rousseau, apparently long enough in the league now where he can get some veteran rest days.
There you go.
Still a young kid, but he's earned it at this point. So you had some guys out just for veteran rest. You had some guys returning, and not all doom and gloom on the injury front.
Greg Rousseau, you guys highlighted it on the pod the other day. That has been one of my favorite highlights of camp. Not that I should be rooting for a Josh Allen interception, but this is what Greg Rousseau does. He's so darn long. And just when you think he's not in the play or out of the play, he just reaches out those arms, anticipates a play, and can swipe it. He's there to the last second of every play because he can just reach out and knock a ball down or get a quarterback off his spot. That is turning out to be such a great draft pick by Brandon Beane. Look, we're going to get to something A.J. Epinesa told us today in the post-practice media here. He's very high on this rookie class. He likes a lot of what he sees in this rookie class. And they went all in on defense on this rookie class.
Yeah.
But Greg Rousseau has been one of those draft picks where if you have any doubts left about why they made that pick, the fact that he's getting a veteran rest day today tells you what they think of him, the continuous and consistent playmaking out there, and pass rush, playmaking on defense. Look, Ryan, Brandon Beane said it on this very podcast with Matt the other day, right? If you want to put something on me, it's the playmaking on defense. Yeah. We need to make more of those big plays. That's why you drafted Hairston. Rousseau does it. A.J. Epinesa, just when you give up on him, will make a huge play in a game, step up, get to the quarterback, make a turnover, knock a pass down, right? So you just got to continue to see that development with these guys. And I was kind of bummed I didn't get to see Rousseau today because he's been making plays all camp.
Yeah, definitely made a lot of plays. It was fun watching Ryan Nielsen, who's been working extensively with the defensive line this summer in those reps early on at practice with Joey Bosa and younger defensive lineman TJ Sanders, veterans like AJ Epinesa. He is so hands-on and vocal, praising these players, you see why the Bills are so eager to bring him over. And another defensive lineman that really popped today, and no surprise, Ed Oliver.
Heard that before.
Yeah.
He just pushes through, makes plays. It's just normal. 3-4 times a practice. Like, yep, there's that again, disrupting that offense.
Yeah, one big play today for Ed Oliver that comes to mind is he blew up the offensive line immediately on a play, which led to this tackle for loss for A.J. Epinesa on a run. Getting in the backfield often, a would-be sack. He just seems to be in the backfield a lot this summer, which that's what you want to see. And I think this influx of talent that they brought in via free agency, via the draft, it's going to help unlock him a little bit more too, where I think opposing teams are very comfortable doubling him because they maybe haven't been threatened in terms of what the Bills have had off the edge, and even next to him with Daquan Jones at times. Mm-hmm. So the better this D-line plays, the more opportunities there's going to be for Ed Oliver. And really quickly here in the chat, how is Landon Jackson doing? Now, I'm going to put this in perspective. It was against the backups, about probably the third team, but he popped 2 plays in a row, blew up a run play, and then got in immediately on what would be a would-be sack. So it's stuff that you want to see. This is not against starters, though, but there's been a lot of questions by the insiders about Landon Jackson. There were 2 plays in a row, or 2 of 3 plays, where he really popped to me, and I was encouraged by that.
That's a great point, because some guys make plays first, second, third team, no matter what, right? So you have to factor that in. We mentioned how slow of a day this was at camp. Everybody kind of taking it easy before the blue and red scrimmage tomorrow at Highmark. But some guys just pop no matter where they are and when they're on the field, no matter who they're against. Yeah. And I can see why in the chat and the insiders, a lot of Bills fans have been asking about him, because he just pops no matter what. Now, we brought up that Oliver. Funny moment. So we got a chance to catch up with A.J. Epinesa and then T.J. Sanders, Buffalo's second-round pick out of South Carolina, on that defensive front with all the defensive picks in the draft this year. And T.J., who's a man of few words, just kind of a rookie making his way through, he mentioned how they're trying to get to know each other as a unit off the field a little bit. And somebody asked, what's an example of something you've learned about these guys? And T.J.'s like, man, Ed Oliver and those horses. He loves them horses, man. And I wish I had the video to play right now, the Josh Allen video of Ed Oliver riding his horse on the side of the road. But it does demonstrate, Ryan, that this is a defense. There's some new faces. They're trying to get to know each other. And TJ brought up a good point. We practice all the time. We're in film rooms. We're in camp now, more than halfway through camp, believe it or not, at this point. But this is an opportunity to go play golf, go do what you do off the field and get to know each other a little bit better. This is a team that's had tremendous chemistry. The winning and the consistency helps that. But now you've got a lot of rookies and new faces on the defensive line. And you have a veteran like Ed Oliver, who one thing that he also said, Ryan, that stood out to me is there's not a question he has not asked him that Ed Oliver does not have the answer for.
Right. And you're right. Ed Oliver, almost 300-pound man riding horses. It is funny to think about. Speaking of funny moments, Shout is brought to you by the National Comedy Center in Jamestown, New York. We had a blast. Matt and I went there last month. We checked it out. So many interactive sites and exhibits there. You go in, you click on your favorite comedians, you click on your favorite movies, shows, etc. And everything then is crafted for your interests and likes. Can't say enough about it. Have you been there before?
I have not been. I'm very jealous you guys got to go. Did you show the video here on the pod of you and Matt reenacting the scene from Dumb and Dumber?
We did, and we had a blast doing that. So go check out the National Comedy Center. And, shifting gears back now to those pressers, A.J. Epinesa, I thought he was great today at the podium, took a few questions. Speaking on the rookie class, he said this was the most talented rookie group that he's been around, really praising them. And obviously, Deanne Walker's had a lot of really nice moments at camp, just a massive, massive man. T.J. Sanders, and then Landon Jackson, who we've talked about. He even touched upon some of the younger players like Javon Solomon. Had a lot to say there. And for A.J. Epinesa, he's coming in with a chip on his shoulder. He said, I have my own motivations this season. This is the last year of my contract. Mm-hmm. He wants to put his best foot forward. He wants to show that he wants to keep playing in this league, he said. But he wants to, stay in Buffalo and keep crafting that role. He talked about how he's gotten better against the run some years. I thought he really stepped up in that area last year, how he keeps evolving as a pass rusher. So he's someone else that we just can't write off at this point in time.
Good question from this guy on that, by the way. And I appreciate the honesty from A.J. Epinesa saying, I'm in a contract here. I want to show out. I want to show I belong. He plays like this too. he emphasized that presser that I'm a guy that plays with a chip on my shoulder all the time. He has been doubted, right? Let's face it. There was a good run there where Bills fans were questioning the pick. Was he the right guy? And I brought it up earlier in the pod here. Just when you're ready to get – here we go, Dumb and Dumber line. Just when I'm ready to give up on you, you go and redeem yourself, right? That's the kind of guy that Epinesa is. And he's a veteran now. It's interesting to hear him talk about it, Ryan, that the red and blue scrimmage came up, and he mentioned when he was around and as a rookie, it was COVID. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, geez, that guy's been around that long. He's in a contract here, right? So he's just one of those. The balance on the defensive line, the guys like Ed Oliver and Epinesa and the veterans that are there with Sanders and with some of these new guys that are trying to acclimate there. And I always enjoy talking and hearing from AJ Epinesa. He's somebody that you really he's hard not to root for at this point.
Absolutely. And he's been a steady performer. You know what you're going to get out of him most years. Usually it's around 6 sacks. He's great against the run. He's really gotten good in that area. So you want to root for him this year, despite it being a very deep room. Obviously, some more opportunities for him early in the season when you have Michael Hoyt on a suspension. What the Bills do after that with their defensive end room will be very interesting based on the numbers game and perspective. But let's get into a little bit of the offensive side of the ball, Brent, when they were going full speed. The headline here, the second part of the headline says the summer of Keon Coleman continues. Big plays, 3 big plays again, including that pass interference penalty that you mentioned against Trey White today.
Yeah, Trey White right there on that play, but there was also a great touchdown catch that Keon Coleman had. And who was it that was
Dane Jackson?
Dane Jackson was mugging him, just all over him. But I was encouraged by this, Ryan, because it showed that Keon can make the tough catch when he's being interfered with. There's physicality. I was a huge advocate for the Bills to draft Keon Coleman because, those of you that know, I work at Syracuse.com, primarily covering Syracuse University sports. I've seen Keon play Syracuse football a couple of times, and he's just one of those guys at Florida State. No matter where you put the football, he would go up and get it, and the Bills needed that, right? But he had that catch. There was another great, tell me if you heard this one before, Josh Allen throwing a frozen rope, right? But it was a catch in stride in between defenders, right? I think that image we get of Keon Coleman at this point, Ryan, is a guy that can go up and get the ball. I want to see him do more of the, for lack of a better term, normal routes, right? What a number one receiver can do. And he just continues to do that day in and day out. If you had to, and I'm sure you guys will do this pod at some point, if you had to hand out a camp MVP, would you say he's in the running for that? I think he's at least on the list.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt has been beating the drum that he's been playing like a wide receiver one this summer, and it's hard to dispute that. Obviously, the Bills love Khalil Shakir and the chemistry that he and Josh Allen have, and he'll get a ton of touches as well. But this has been a very encouraging summer for Coleman. Day one, gets shut out of the catching the ball. He's going against Christian Benford, one of the best cornerbacks in the league. But since then, he's just, they've strapped a rocket to his back, and he has taken off. He had a blown coverage touchdown today. He got behind the defense. Whoever was supposed to be in coverage got lost in the fray, but Allen delivered a pass to him, a big touchdown there. And, the touchdown that you mentioned with Dane Jackson, left corner of the end zone, Dane draped all over him. We've seen this a few times where different members of the secondary have been very handsy, tugging on his jersey, pulling on him. And I can't remember a time where he hasn't come down with the ball. So while separation could still be an issue for him, he might never be that natural separator. The 50-50 balls, the natural hands to be able to grab it in coverage or when you're getting pulled away and to come down with the catches, that's huge. And, you still are going to draw flags like he did against Trey White at times. But when you can't draw flags, you need a guy that can finish on a play like that. And that's exactly what he did today.
While we're on the offensive side of the ball, Ryan, it's great that James Cook is here. He's in a contract situation. This could have gone completely the other way. We just saw T.J. Henderson's going to be back at camp for Cincinnati, right? Or Hendrickson, pardon me, right? It's better to work those things out while you have a presence at camp. Holding out, by the way, I don't care how much money you make. If you're not at camp and you're getting fined $50,000 a day, not being there, that adds up, right? So kudos to James Cook for being here and doing that. But even though it was not full speed, and maybe some defensive players would argue they would have taken him down, but I like what I saw from Ray Davis today.
Yeah.
He had a great touchdown run, kind of hit the edge, and I think in real speed, at the very least, it would have been a big gain. You kind of wonder about, we focus so much on the receivers, and rightfully so, given the storylines there. But when this team's got to bear down and run the football, we know that Cook can do it. Can Ray Davis do it is the question. I'm not going to get the answer on one day, but I like what I saw from him up close and personal today.
And Davis made the most of his opportunities as a rookie last year. When Cook did miss a game, he really put up a great performance running the ball. He showed the ability to make some big-time catches for this team as a rookie, too. Long touchdown reception against Miami, a reception at midfield against the Jets on a primetime game where Allen heaved it about halfway down the field for him. So he can do a little bit of everything. But you're right, this was early in practice when they did a lot of goal line, red zone type of work today. But this was early in practice, and he took one, and you had a few defenders yelling, no way, like we had him. But they counted it as a touchdown, and he's a tough guy to bring down. He had a good moment there. Cook had some nice runs inside the 5 as well. Both guys signing a ton of autographs after practice, just, going out, embracing the Bills Mafia, making a lot of special moments for fans in attendance. But on the field, they've been doing a great job today, too. Funny moment as well in practice. I want to say it was a Darrington Evans run where he ran for about 4 yards in that goal line drill, and then McGovern picked him up and carried him into the end zone for that last yard. So they're having fun here. It was more of a low-key day, but there was still a lot of fun things or good things to take out of practice.
Absolutely. Just a couple side things here before we wrap it up and get ready for tomorrow. We're going to be at Highmark Stadium tomorrow for the Blue and Red scrimmage. Looking forward to that. We'll have the Shout podcast coming up after that game tomorrow. I'm sure you guys have talked about it and you've gotten used to it, but as a first-time person at camp this year parachuting in, those Hard Knock cameras are everywhere. It's not really the cameras, Ryan. It's the boom mics. You see boom mics everywhere, every huddle. My guy, Sal Capaccio, shout out to him, just went over on the sideline with, I can't remember what player it was off the top of my head. It'll pop in my head here in a second. And he was just talking to somebody on the sideline. Boom mic, camera, right there. Nothing gets missed. So I'm wondering, of all these hours of footage that they've already shot, remember, they've had a few weeks, they've had the off season, half of camp, that first episode, which premieres Tuesday night, that's going to be a banger of an episode. You just know it. They're going to do an amazing job with that. They're going to build in the Hairston storyline. I could just hear Liev Schreiber right now. And then Max Hairston went down. Camp took a turn at St. John Fisher University, right? They're going to play up the drama on this. But then, Ryan, when they've got to, on those shorter weeks, build those episodes, just really what's going on the field, preseason, right? It becomes more meat, potatoes football. I wonder who they're going to focus on, that guy on the fringe of being cut, right? We know who the personalities on this team are that will be featured, but who have they found that maybe doesn't stand out in that department, but you'll kind of adopt and attach yourself to on the show. So the closer we get to Hard Knocks, the more excited I am to get into this, because to see the Bills on Hard Knocks it's almost like you watch all these shows and they can make anything look great. This is already a great story, but Ryan, at the end of the day, this is a Super Bowl contender. This is a good team. This is not a team you have to come in and kind of build up because it's like the Jets or the Bengals or a team that was not in contention when the Hard Knocks cameras were around. You're showing the beginning steps of a team that's trying to get to the next step and make the Super Bowl. I can't wait for that show. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I am pumped up about Hard Knocks. I was talking on the sideline a few days ago here at camp about that, where we have all this access. We're here watching the practices every day, but it's must-watch TV, not just for the fans, but for the media members as well, because they're going to have, what's going on behind the scenes, in the meetings, in the cafeteria. I'm sure the guys playing their board games and all that stuff, they're going to have so many fun angles with it that we almost have to watch that to report on stuff that we learned there and conversations in the front office and with personnel, the coaching staff. There's going to be so much to dig into with Hard Knocks that I am pumped up about it. I can't wait for the first episode Tuesday night.
So tomorrow we're going to be at Highmark, Blue and Red scrimmage. It's the unofficial start of the Highmark Stadium farewell tour.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to getting my first up-and-close personal look at the new stadium as well. I'm going to take some time to kind of drive by that and soak that in. I have not been out to Buffalo since that stadium's really taken form. I was out there when it was just like a hole in the ground, right?
Right.
But not this fully formed stadium that's coming into fruition. Bills fans that are going to Highmark that haven't really seen it, haven't been there, it's just going to pop. It's going to be there. You're going to see the future of the Buffalo Bills coming together before your very eyes. And the literal contrast, Ryan, right across the street is the future, but one last run, I'm going to call it what's in my heart, one last run at the Ralph, right? Okay, shout out to all the sponsors that have been there through the years, but to me, it's always going to be the Ralph. And it's, I think, even just for a scrimmage, but some of the players were even asked about it today. When you walk back in that stadium and the feel of it and the fans that are going to be there, and we know Bills Mafia is going to make a day of it. We're going to see some tailgating out there. We're going to see some fans living it up, that first step towards, okay, training camp's been great. You guys have been following the updates, watching the pod. Ryan and Matt doing an amazing job on the text line, but there's just something about when you drive into Orchard Park, there's the stadium. I'm sure we're going to see the red helmets tomorrow. I hope we see the red helmets tomorrow, or whatever wacky helmet Josh Allen is going to have on. It's such a great day for the fans, the up close and personal interaction that they get. They certainly get it here at camp as well, but it's a little different when you're in the stadium and it's like, okay, the calendar will be August and it will start to feel a little bit more like football tomorrow.
Yeah, take in the new stadium on your way in, but then soak up your experience tomorrow. Highmark, the Ralph, whatever you want to call it, Rich Stadium when I was growing up too. So all the names, but enjoy this. Brent and I will be out there tomorrow. We'll be along the sidelines. If you see us, give us a holler. We cannot wait to be there. As you can see on the bottom of the screen there, check out our new Shout merch and apparel. The link is in the YouTube headline. Sports Locker did a great job with this design. You can get t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, book bags, you name it. Go get your Shout merch. A clean 30 minutes there, Mr. Brent Axe, as we wrap up. Yeah, as we wrap up day 7. Bills Mafia, we will see you tomorrow at Highmark Stadium. Have a good one.
Thanks, guys.